Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that delights in the fact that there are Celtic fans all over this great big planet. I've omitted to prepare a from and to, so let's just say hello to our two guests, our two contributors, regular faces. Viewers will recognise Stephen in Sydney, Australia. G'day, Stephen.
Hey Gab, how you doing? Hey Ernest, and hello to everyone in the comments. I took my usual commute this morning on Sydney Harbour from Manly on the ferry, and when I left Manly it was a bit gloomy, cloudy and overcast. And just when I got towards the Opera House in Sydney, the sun just burst through from behind the clouds, and it turned into an absolutely beautiful day. And I was thinking at the time, what a perfect analogy for the weekend just past. Things look grim for Celtic, and then everything all of a sudden looks great in the world. It's just a happier place this morning. So, yes, the mood has lifted.
Wow, you can see the sunlight coming through from your skylight above you there even. It's funny that in this because on a recent show I said to Paul, is it always darkest before dawn? You know that expression? Are things just about to turn the corner because they're so bad? That turned out to be what's happening, although it's never darkest before dawn. That's complete bollocks. But anyway, hello Innes in Wrexham.
Yes, an amazing week in a Celtic world. 7 days. Yeah, what a turnaround. Fascinating to be at. I was at the game on Wednesday night against Falkirk. That was good. And then obviously watched the game yesterday. And great to be in the final. Changed days.
So you were there for the historic return of St. Martin?
Yep, indeed. Got the train up on Wednesday. Went for a few pints in the afternoon in Glasgow. Met Jim from Dundee and out to the ground. And a few more pints in the Oak. It was dead in the Oak, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be great in here tonight. It's usually a good barometer as to how busy the pub is, to how busy the ground's going to be. But as I say, most people must have been outside the front doors having a bit of a protest. But we got in the ground just right as the teams were coming out, and it was great. A great atmosphere, great to be at, buoyant, and it was a good game. We're passing forward, playing with a bit of freedom, goals. It was great. Good atmosphere all round, and it just teed it up nicely for yesterday. So,
yes, indeed. And I've got a fly on my microphone. What were the circumstances where you watched the game, Stephen? Were you in bed, asleep?
Yeah, I didn't watch it live. In my advancing years, I find it too hard. It was a 1 o'clock kick-off here in Sydney, and when you add on the notion of extra time and penalties, they potentially wouldn't have got to bed till about 4 o'clock. So you're essentially up all night. So I've got the option of watching it on delay. So I was able to do that. So I just got up at 5 o'clock this morning and watched it on delay with my phone switched off. So managed to get all the way through the game and all the way through extra time without checking the scores. So I think that was a decent achievement given the circumstances.
Yeah, did well. All right, well, we're going to talk about the game. Obviously, we'll come on to it. There's loads to talk about what happened. I mean, when I make the little stills, sometimes I'm struggling to find enough things to, be noteworthy. Here, you're like deleting things that would otherwise be noteworthy in your average game. There's just so many chances and incidents. But we haven't had you on for a while, Stephen. Have you been on since the Brendanrodgers resignation?
No, I wasn't. No, I was on it. We done the Monday night. And then,
everything has happened since then. Yeah.
It all broke that same day, I think, or the day after.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give you a chance to sort of bookend Brendanrodgers Mark II, given that you are, as pro Brendan as anyone in the Celtic world. I thought you might like to, write his obituary or say a few words in his memory.
Yeah, I mean, I think he started off the show last week with asking people how would Brendan Rodgers be remembered as Celtic manager, and I think the answer to that is he'll be remembered for what he was, and that is the second best manager in our history behind Jock Stein. So the man was just a trophy machine who just churned out success after success after success for us. And, you know, I could get into the circumstances of his dismissal were shambolic for the club. The statement from Dermot-Desmond was disgraceful, and just no excuse for that sort of behaviour from a guy in his position. And it sort of showed up Celtic's lack of corporate governance for what it actually is. But, you know, having said all that, he's gone now. Brendan's gone, and I do have to admit that it was probably the right time for him to go, for his own sake as well as ours, because the situation was becoming more and more toxic. Some of the online abuse that Rodgers was getting was getting a bit mad, and I think he left probably at the right time. What I think's probably happened is he's probably negotiated a payoff, and they've allowed him to resign because it's something that suits both parties. I don't believe he will have any comment on the Dermot-Desmond rant. I think he'll just let that lie because, you know, I think Dermot-Desmond has come out of that looking like a bit of a nutcase, and I think that will just be left to stew. I had a chat with my son about this. My son's a lawyer. He's not a defamation lawyer, but he does a little bit of work in that space. And I asked him to go through the statement and you know, give me his opinion if there was anything there defamatory. And he said not really. He said there wasn't that much, and that, you know, that when in defamation cases, the burden is very much on the plaintiff to prove that his reputation's been damaged. And I think, you know, that would be very difficult for him to do. So I don't think there'll be any legal action. Having said all that, I don't think half of the stuff in the statement was true. And there certainly was one thing which was demonstrably a lie, where he said that every pound that Celtic earn gets reinvested in the club. Now, that was such an easily provable and demonstrable lie that I think it has to be poured out over the rest of the statement and, you know, how much of that was the truth. Because we know we've got 77 million or something sitting in the bank, so every pound does not get reinvested. And you know, moving on to the following news that it was going to be Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney taking interim charge. And I think you'll know, Gav, that, you know, what my feelings are on Sean Maloney, and I do believe and still believe that he's the plan to be the manager and slip into the manager's seat, even though it's been denied all round at the moment. I think Martin O'Neill is there as a sort of a cloak, but like the Harry Potter cloak of invisibility for Sean Maloney, to get him into the hot seat without too much pressure on him. And I think that's what will happen. I'm fully expecting over the next few weeks for the O'Neill-Maloney combination to be extended to the end of the season. And after that, I think for the rest of the year, it's Maloney's job to lose now. And if things go the way they're going, keep going the way they're going just now, I think the board will slip him into that seat quite comfortably.
Well, yes, well, let's mark the end of Brendan's tenure with a little bit of music in us. I don't know if you've been present for this or you've heard a song that we made right at the start of Brendan Rodgers Mark II, in the days when, you know, positivity and nostalgia and everything was in the air. Pretty different atmosphere. Okay, well, you're in for a treat then, isn't he, Stephen?
Oh, yes.
All right. This is the Green Hoops of Celtic. Our story begins in the county Antrim, where our gaffer is from. This song's about him. Carnlough is a place as fair as them all, though it's not quite as good as nearby Cushendall. Ballymena was first where a player he'd be, but an injury at Reading ended prematurely. Via England and Wales he learned instrumentally, to the green hoops of Celtic where he's in the hot sea. Sure, Des O'Connor inspired the young pasty Brendan, so he spends the big bucks on his mad permatan. At night he just smiles to see what the time is, for his teeth are as white as a polar bear's jizz. Ballymena was first where a player he'd be, now a trim, stylish coach, not a slovenly Aussie. Though he's small, he can grow, make his legend complete. In the green hoops of Celtic, where he's in the hot sea. There you go, Innes. I hope you've recovered.
Gav, what a lyricist. Very good.
What was that about a polar bear? What was that from a polar bear?
You know that. Stop stirring the pot. David's asking, was it a polar bear's gin? No.
No, it wasn't.
At night he just smiles to see what the time is, for his teeth are as white as a polar bear's jizz. That was... Because you can think of nothing whiter, most likely. So did he make his legend complete in this, as we say farewell to Brendan?
Well, maybe, as Stephen said, he's delivered the trophies. The time was right for him to go. He's called the shot there. I think he's got as much as he can out of the team, as we've seen in recent weeks. He called the meeting last Monday, and there we go. It's right for both parties, I think, that parting of the ways.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right. Well, there you go. There's Brendan gone. Yeah, I don't really lament his departure, but in a sense, he was very close to me in a way, because he's from the same part of the world as me, a few villages along from where my people are from, same age as me. I sometimes wonder if we went to the same discos when we were like 17, But he wouldn't have been into the same music as me, if that mullet is anything to go by. Not a music man.
I genuinely don't understand the hate, because he's taken a lot of hate for Celtic fans. And it has been a great success, at any time he's been here. I think he's won, out of a possible 12 trophies that he could have won, he's won 10. So, I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I understand he's probably maybe not the kind of guy that you would want to, go and have a drink with in a pub. That's maybe clear. Maybe he's a bit arrogant. Maybe he's a bit full of himself. But if you look at our last manager, Ange Postecoglou, I mean, he was arrogant. He was full of himself. He was confident. Just because you say mate all the time, it doesn't mean you're any more pleasant a guy. He was just the same type of guy, and that's what you get when you're at the elite level in sport. And I feel as if, speaking of elite, that this term elite manager seems to be a stick that's been used to beat him with, certainly over the past few weeks. But it's an entirely subjective term, and I don't think you'll ever have heard Brendan Rodgers referring to himself as elite. It's a label that other people have assigned to him, so it's hardly his fault, is it? because someone somewhere on a forum somewhere said he was an elite manager, and everybody else piled on and said, how can he possibly be elite? So what he was a very good manager, and I think give it in time, I think his legacy at Celtic will be a lot more fondly remembered than it is at the moment.
I wonder where he'll show up next. It'll be interesting to see. And will he have Kennedy with him?
Yeah, I think that was the most instructive thing about the whole affair, was the fact that Kennedy left with him, because Kennedy's survived 4 or 5 managerial calls at Celtic, and it was like, it was almost like the cockroaches.
I was hoping you weren't going to go down the cockroach line.
Yeah, the only survivor from a nuclear war would be the cockroaches and John Kennedy as the assistant manager at Celtic. But now he's gone as well, so that does suggest that Brendan maybe wasn't as unpopular around the club as had been made out by some people. But we don't know. But he certainly a lot of the coaching staff have gone with him.
Okay, well, there's certainly a freshness about the place now, is sort of suggested by the thumbnail. Celtic are back. There's smiley faces. There's a manager we love to see. There's youth coming through. Just so much positivity to take from the circumstances at the moment. Innes, there's put a smile in your face, eh?
Yeah, and as I said, you got that feeling back in the stadium on Wednesday night. It was vibrant, obviously really positive for Martin O'Neill being back in the dugout, and it was great to see him there, being there, and he's thoroughly enjoying it as well. That's the main thing, and the players have got a lift from it. There was just a breath of fresh air and playing with a lot of freedom. Like handbrakes was off, and it was great to see. And I'm glad we took it into yesterday's match too. So.
Okay, and then for yesterday's match, this was the lineup: Schmeichel, Ralston, Trusty, Scales, Sorachi, McGregor, Engels, Negrin, Chinecti, Maida, and Kenny. Any great surprises there, Stephen, for you?
Yeah, not really. I don't think there was too many decisions to make there. I think the only one really was either Tierney or Sorachi at left back, and I think Sorachi done enough in the Fall Cup game to retain his place in the team. So, pretty much expecting that with the lack of squad depth and the injuries that we have. I think that was probably the best lineup he could have named. I mean, you could have made an argument for Donovan in front of Ralston, but Ralston, has got this reputation as Mr. Dependable. He's a lot more experienced than Donovan, who got absolutely toasted at Tynecastle last week. So I think he's just gone with the more defensively robust option in Ralston. But it was pretty much as expected.
Okay, we've got loads to get through in this here in terms of the game, so I'll come to you first and we'll sort of run through these relatively quickly. That's okay. Here's the first incident. This is where we thought we'd taken the lead. Were you pretty sure this was a goal at the time?
Yeah, indeed. That was a bit of a stramash there between Maida and Negrin. And when we run it back, I thought we'd taken the lead for sure.
But of course, I know that's not the first thing, is it? Was this the one that was given offside?
Yeah, that was the offside call.
When they call it back? All right, well then let's get that up. I mean, these lines, for God's sake, as somebody says, you could quite easily swap these two lines and nobody would be any the wiser.
Yeah.
As to who was where.
Yeah.
And then this picture here.
Yeah, that's the one. He's onside.
That picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's clearly onside, and the only way you're calling that offside is if you want to call it offside. It's just not offside at all. You can draw, you can advance. I think we've had this discussion before. It's getting a bit dull to talk about it all the time, but you can advance that by a frame and get a different outcome, or take it back by a frame and get a different outcome. And it's just, and I think that the answer is that if it's that tight, then you let it go. You go with the attacking team. That was always the instruction. It was in a borderline offside call. The attacking team gets the benefit of the doubt. So in that situation, that's what you should do. And I'm not there's no way they can 100% say that was offside.
When you go straight across the line. So it's, it was a predictable call, though, shall we say.
Well, in the context of this, that Rangers have written to the SFA to complain about another key incident in the game, I mean, both teams can put together quite an interesting charge sheet against the referee in this game, can't they? It's absolutely ridiculous, the amount of incidents.
All the gunning that's been going on today, social media, has been absolutely farcical. It really is. It's almost as if they've listed off all these decisions that they reckon went against them, and just completely ignored the ones that were just as blatant that went in their favour. And I don't think the ref had a brilliant game, but he got as many things wrong which impacted Celtic to their detriment that it did Rangers. So. It's absolutely, they're in trouble when they start writing letters to the SFA. It's a fairly common occurrence from Rangers now.
Statement FC. Okay. Yeah, that was that one. But let's get back to the stills then. So, Chermiti is through and knocks it wide, thankfully, and this was a bit of a scary moment.
Yeah, I think that was the one where Ralston got exposed out on the left, and he should have scored there. I mean, it was a glaring miss. Real glaring miss.
Yeah. And then Kenny gets up for the header after a good Engels delivery, Stephen. Are you starting to warm to Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've been quite scathing of Johnny Kenny. I didn't think he was up to the task of being a centre forward at Celtic. But the last two games, he's in danger of ramming my words down my throat. Because that was another good performance from him, and a great goal. He's made a really good run across between two defenders, and he's got up above them all, and directed the header into the far corner. And the only thing I would say is Rangers are absolutely pish, and the defence particular is just honking. And every time we put delivery in the box, I thought we were a threat, which is something we haven't been this season. It's something we've bemoaned a lot. The fact that we don't score enough goals from set pieces. But two things contributed to that. One was the paucity of Rangers' defence, but also the deliveries from Engels were first class. Mostly all game. He had a few wayward ones, but mostly his deliveries were bang on.
What else was bang on? Innes was Kenny going to the crowd here to celebrate. Yeah. You can see some of the reactions. Look, wanker sign here, finger here, wife saying, "Calm down, son, calm down, husband, keep your belly in your shirt." And then the next picture, the belly's out.
The belly's out.
What does that tell you about Rangers fans?
Nothing we don't know, Gav. But he thoroughly enjoyed that goal, and he's been waiting for that one. Yeah, he's been saving that one in the celebration and at the Rangers end too. So it was great. But as we say, great delivery from Engels and a fantastic header. But Raskin didn't cover himself in glory there either to try and defend it. But as Stephen said, the whole Rangers defence yesterday was awful, especially first half. Awful. And we could have scored a hatful more, to be honest.
Good, and here's one of them. This is when Kenny was through again, and he got a shot away.
Yeah, that was
Then Raskin had a one-on-one. They kept getting these chances, sort of seemingly against the run of play in my eyes. Anyway, that suddenly they found themselves through. But Schmeichel also had a good game, didn't he? He made quite a few important stops.
That was Danilo cut through between Scales and straight to Raskin, but that was a good save. That one.
Yeah. And Chermiti at the back post. This is when the ball came floating over everyone. All he had to do was get a good clean contact and it was a goal. But thankfully, he looks like, he makes Engels look like an absolute bargain bucket. 10 million.
Was it probably a good time to point out that they spent 10 million quid on him, which was a third of their entire transfer spend in the summer. So he looks terrible. And he looks, we do, as you say, we sort of bemoan the fact that we paid 11 million for Engels, but Engels looks like a player, and he's certainly coming onto a bit of form now. But this guy just looks hopeless, and I think they're going to be struggling to shift him, to be honest.
Yeah,
Delivery from Engels. Sorry, I keep talking over you in this, but just keep going through. I'll let you speak on this one. Delivery from Engels, and Negrin, just all he had to do was get the slightest touch, and this would have been a goal.
Yeah, again, I know a good delivery from Engels. Negrin was kind of missing most of the game yesterday, but again, he has, like he did on Falkirk game, loads of chances. But yeah, another miss.
And then here we go, foot in the sort of groin region, top of the thigh. Stephen, talk us through this incident.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's just he's just miscontrolled the ball and just lunged in for it, and when you do that, if you lift your studs, you're running the risk of a red card. So that was this was one of the incidents they've been gunning about today. But if the positions were reversed, they'd have been screaming for a red card for that. So I think it was the correct decision. Maybe a little bit. I mean, there was some talk on the commentary that I was listening to that he was watching. He was looking at the ball, but he wasn't looking at the ball at all. The ball was away somewhere else, and he was just out of control, and high and dangerous, and it met all the criteria for a red card.
Red card all day long.
Sorry, Innes, every time you talk, you're like underwater for the first few words, and then it becomes clear. I'm not sure why. So.
Don't know. It's red card all day long. So
yeah, from what I've seen from the other side, they're not actually arguing that. They're saying, yeah, fair enough, red card, but there should have been more than one red. They go on to say, which I think we might agree with, but for different reasons. Here's a comment from DW. Negrin went for goal himself when he should have passed to Kenny. He should have just left it. This is it. Look at Kenny winding up for the shot here. Negrin sort of pokes the ball free. Kenny would have had a far better chance of hammering this one home. That was a bit unfortunate, wasn't it? Yeah.
And they had a few words as well after it. So
yeah, that's right. There he is there. Look, oh no, you can't see that. There he is there saying, "What the fucking hell, Jesus, bloody hell."
This was round about the time we were all over them, and we were pressing them high. We were engaging them high up the park. And they were giving the ball away so cheaply. And really, to be honest with you, we should have scored another couple of goals in that during that spell.
Definitely. But it would have put us all out of our misery. Put the game beyond doubt.
At half time, 2-0 up, I think the game was, we would have won it extremely comfortably. But as I said on our group chat, we're going to make rue that. So going on at 1.
Okay, and then we have the incident that they are all really greeting about. Innes, talk us through this. Have you ever been lightly kicked in the head and thought it was no big deal?
I don't know what the hell he was doing there, to be honest. It was daft, stupid, and it certainly ran the risk of, getting a red card for that. So if that was at the other end, we'd be screaming for it too. So
totally agree. A lot of people are saying definitely a yellow. Definitely a yellow. That's never a red card. But Stephen, are you going to take that position?
No, I can see why people are saying it could have been a red. I thought he was probably quite fortunate. I think what saved him was probably there was very little actual force, and he did look as if he tried to pull his foot away at the last second, and so there wasn't much force. I think Butland's made a bit of a meal of it. I don't think there was any actual physical damage to his head, but you could have made a reasonable case that it was dangerous. So, if he'd shown him a red card after the VAR intervention, I don't think we could have really complained that much.
Yeah.
I tried to give him some justice during the game in the heat of the moment yesterday. I was saying to my lad that I think he was expecting Butland to spill it, and he was ready for the shot, but it's pretty weak defence.
Well, really dumb thing to do as well. Really, really daft, and it was, it could have been such a pivotal moment in the game. And when you turn around and consider the fact that Twisty ended up getting the man of the match, and played really well. But how different could it have been if that hadn't been adjudged differently? He would have been sent off and absolutely lambasted for gross stupidity.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the game thinking, look, keep the heads, lads. Nobody gets sent off. That's really what they want. That's their best chance now, is if one of us gets... And the more our yellows piled up, the more I was hoping Martin O'Neill would substitute our danger men who were on yellows, Here's a quite funny thing I saw on social media. How Rangers fans see the trusty yellow. The way they're talking about it, honestly. I saw another one where his head came off. Did you see that one? They said that's what the Rangers fans think happened.
I mean, it was a little bit naughty, but it's not in any way a severe dangerous move or anything like that. It was dumb and daft. He should never have left his foot. But they're making far too much of it.
Speaking of dangerous moves, the Cornelius tackle. I'm not quite sure where that comes in the timeline, but let's talk about it now. Keith Hackett here on Twitter saying this fulfills the law for serious foul play. A red card should have been awarded. This was the challenge on Kenny where he just comes flying in. I mean, in a normal game, that would have been the incident we're all talking about. And we would be debating whether that was a red or not. Right? But it gets lost in the maelstrom of other occurrences in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a horrendous challenge. I mean, he followed straight through. And, that's another one of the talking points for the referee yesterday, just overlooked. And for me, it was a red.
Stephen?
I don't think... I 100% agree. As the guy said, as Keith Hackett said in that clip there, he met all the criteria for a red card. The studs were showing he was out of control and he made contact with the player. So that's probably one that won't be included in the Rangers letter to the SFA, I would imagine. But certainly that was probably, of all the decisions in the game, that was probably the worst one, I think, because it's a clear red, and I can believe, but he should have been called over to the monitor to have another look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, Steph, if you're going to complain about one, you've got to look at all the others. And I think we've been pretty fair-minded. We wouldn't have been surprised if a red was given for the trusty one. But that one, equally, if not more so, in terms of dangerousness and pain and intent and out of control, power and all the rest. All right, back to the action then. Great save from Butland after Engel's corner. Butland, who they used to say can't get down to his left, did very well there to get that one. Sarachi and Negrin combine, and Negrin just sort of redirects Sarachi's shot, but sticks it over, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think that went over the bar.
Yeah.
Jamesy hits the crossbar running onto this one. Chances galore, my God. Could have been a really high-scoring day.
That was a good move, that one, actually, and a good, the cutback. It was worthy of a goal.
And Hatate had a weak shot that was spilled a little bit, but you can see where he is there, sort of in the middle of the penalty box. Good place to shoot from. And then Ralston. Ralston is tripped, falling with his hands by his side. You genuinely think that's a penalty, and not because it's for the team you support. Now, watching the game, I had no particular problem with that as a penalty, but the more I think about it, the more I see in opinions and photographs, and I hear referees talking to the Daily Record and all, and saying that that's not a penalty. What do you think, Stephen? Sorry, I'll go to Stephen first.
Well, I think you hear a lot of chat these days about who knows what a handball is these days, but you do know that wasn't one, and it's never been one. Any iteration of the UEFA or the FIFA rules, that's never a penalty, and I can't believe that they let that stand. The referee took about 5 seconds to award the penalty. I don't know what he was doing. He must have had someone in his ear, but it wasn't a penalty. And the annoying thing for me was they had a really easy way to avoid it. He could have just blown for the foul because Ralston was fouled, right? Ralston was fouled by I think it was Biofsky, who fouled him, and that's why he fell. But he's fallen, and he's deliberately, because he could see it coming, he deliberately tucked his arm in to stop his arm coming out and making contact with the ball. But his arm's by his side, he's been fouled, and he's falling. No way, no chance was that a penalty. It should have been overturned by VAR.
Boy, this says we're sounding negative in this. I don't know what show he's watching, but can you perk it up a bit and make some high-pitched noises?
No, but it's never a penalty. Where the hell is he meant to put his arm? He's Miovski's fouled him. He's fallen over. I mean, he's horizontal when the ball hits him. What the hell is he meant to do? Arms down to his side. Scales was behind him. He was going to cover it anyway. It's just a nonsense that VAR never got involved in it.
Alrighty, that's that incident. Keep on going through these and make sure we sound chipper. Jamesy goes on a delicious maizy run, doesn't he? Absolutely gorgeous. He's rolling back the clock here. And then feeds the ball out to Callum Osmond, who's through and he just doesn't really connect with it at all. He just plays it low and at the keeper.
From memory, I think that was a great move. Was that when Forrest nutmegged the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And Osmond should have done better there, to be honest, but it was straight at the keeper.
Yeah. It's good to see Osmond flying about the place, though. He was full of invention and energy. Here's another shot from Hatate that he put over again, off target. And then this was the moment, goes to extra time, and McGregor hits an absolute thunder bastard into the roof of the net, Stephen. How excited were you? Tell Grab Boy how awesome this moment was.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute rip slaughter of a goal. And he's got half a yard of pace, half a yard of space on the edge of the box, and he's just laced it. And it was absolutely a brilliant goal. Callum McGregor has a few of them a year in his locker. I haven't seen it for a while, but he scored a few against them actually from outside the box. So that's another one to add to the collection. I think we could, and the commentators were sort of ruining Jack Butland's contribution, but I think you just have to take your hat off to the strike and how well he caught it and how straight and true it ran. And I think it was just he hit it so hard that Butland was caught off guard.
And maybe in two minds, he probably thought this is heading to the top corner when it came off his boot. So he sort of dives at an angle, and he's like, it's gone too far. Innes can't get back for it.
When they were down from Ralston down the right hand side, inside the trustee, and then that touch inside, the one touch from McGregor, and there's no way he was going to stop that. I mean, Butland was probably unsighted by Suter anyway, and they were saying it took a deflection, but maybe hit his one hair. Yeah, there's no way they were going to stop that. So, great goal.
Yeah, smashing. Okay, what happens next then? Osmond gets another sort of half chance. Ball comes across to him and he heads it down, which is the right thing to do, but didn't trouble the keeper with that one. So he's touched it well.
Around the post, yeah.
Gassama through. Now Schmeichel again saves. I mean, let's give Kasper Schmeichel some praise in this.
Yeah, no, it was another great save from him. I thought, leading up to that, I thought Trusty was going to bring him down just on the edge of the box. I thought, just don't do it. But fortunately, Schmeichel stood up to the task, and great save. I think he saved that one with his foot from memory, I think.
Yeah, it was good. It was good going. Thankfully, they were wasteful in those moments. Right, Engels does well to cut the ball back for Ralston here. Is that right? No. I'll say that again. Stephen, Engels does well to cut the ball back from a Ralston pass. And Osmond does really well, doesn't he, to sort of control it and get the shot away?
Yeah, he did. He took control with his back to goal, and he turned quite smartly and got a shot away. Unfortunately, it was kind of straight at the goalkeeper. But Osmond at this point was looking like a real good striker and having proven a real handful for the Rangers defence. It's interesting, isn't it, that he's come from nowhere, and I think it's sort of, a lot of people were talking about Shin Yamada and how Brendan Rodgers was deliberately not playing him to make a kind of political point about the fact they hadn't signed him and it was a club signing. But I think, to be honest with you, it was probably Brendan was too loyal to Shin Yamada and gave him too many chances in front of Callum Osmond. I mean, Callum Osmond, even in the little bit we've seen of him, looks twice the player Shin Yamada is. So I don't know whether Rodgers felt he was under a bit of pressure from the club to play Yamada, but certainly Osmond's jumped in and grabbed the jersey with both hands.
And that's one of the reasons you love football, when you see these young guys who nobody thinks has got much of a chance, and then they just go out and they play fresh-faced and lively and fast, and they're playing in a mature way. Like this goal that he took, this was great work by KT down the left, and then he drives a low diagonal, and Osmond takes the chance and just sort of slides in, hoping that the ball's going to make it to him, and it beautifully does, and he scores his goal and everyone's thrilled. That was intelligent forward play, wasn't it, Innes?
Absolutely. It was a great delivery in from Tierney. Split the three Rangers defenders, and Osmond gambled and went for it because Tierney's shot was going to go, cross was going to go wide anyway, and he was in the right place at the right time, just what you want your strikers to do. Great goal.
But how many times do you see that happening and the most attacking player doesn't gamble, like a Negrin or a Maida or whatever, and the ball just flies across the front of goal and out for a corner?
From because he had a lot of chances, and I'm pleased he got the goal. So, and it could be a good find for us for the rest of the season too.
Absolutely, not necessarily one for the future, Stephen. One for today.
I think.
Sorry.
One for the present, yeah, and I think that's what we've been missing a lot this season, because there's been a lot of those types of balls flashed across goal, and nobody's gambled. I think that's something maybe Johnny Kenny can learn a bit from Osmond, is to gamble occasionally and make that run. And I don't think you can overstate Kieran Tierney's role in that goal either. That was an absolutely brilliant cross-stroke shot into the box, because he's put it exactly on the spot between the keeper and the defenders, and he's just set it up for any striker to get a touch on it. And even if one of those defenders slides in and gets a contact in the ball, they're risking an own goal as well. So it was such a dangerous cross, and I feel as if I thought Tierney did really well when he came on, and I think we've only really seen Kieran Tierney in fits and starts this season, what he can bring to the team, and that was certainly a really good example of Kieran Tierney at his best.
As Mickey points out here, it's a shame he can't play in Europe. He's not in the squad, is he? Brendanrodgers didn't include him. That's too bad. But he's just made his professional debut this week, and that's his second professional game. So he's absolutely loving life. As you can see here he is all smiley and fresh-faced. His young face is filling the screen. And then what's the next shot? This face is filling the screen. Not quite as fresh-faced and appealing, I think it's fair to say. I wonder who that fan is. Huh?
Yeah, they left him up there for an inordinately long length of time, which I thought was a bit bad. They get the picture and move on. He's happy. Thank you. We've seen enough of you.
Sure, he'll be loving it. But okay, so the stats anyway. I don't know if you can see these clearly. Maybe they're a bit too small. Possession, we shaded it, but in terms of shots and shots on target and off target, obviously, we were by far the better team. I mean, there's no question in my mind that we deserve to win that by kind of that margin.
Agreed.
Would you say? Would anyone disagree?
Absolutely. No, absolutely agree. We're a better team. Obviously dominated the first half. Faded a bit in the second half at the start of the second half, got them back into the game. But in extra time, with the extra man, it just completely controlled it and managed the game well out to win comfortably in the end.
Pork Chop Express saying New pod, Hoops Abroad, recently started, only 6 subs. Reach out, Gav, nice Irish guy in the USA. Okay, will do. We, of course, do have a USA, or rather North American themed show that goes out usually on a Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means 8 p.m. in New York and places like that, which translates to, or it did, to 1 a.m. in Scotland. Don't know what that is exactly now that daylight saving is on, but yeah, we'll reach out to him, say hello, see if we can get him on that show, do a bit of collab, help a brother out. Hey, Eunice, we're all part of the Celtic world.
Absolutely.
What other stats have we got to enjoy here? Celtic are now 10-2 at Hampden versus Newco Rangers, Stephen. The 2 losses were on penalty kicks and an own goal in extra time. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, for all we bemoan our recent record against Rangers, really, when it matters, we do tend to beat them. And that's a good example. That's a good illustration of that right there. They haven't beaten us in a cup tie in a long time, and there's another one to add to the list this weekend.
I'm not so sure we would have won that game if we hadn't had a change though in this last 7 days. Given the boring football we've been watching this season, I'm not so sure we would have won that game.
I'd call Brendan style boring in front of Stephen. Be held to pay.
Yeah, this is the man who. This is the same style that delivered us a record goals total last year.
I know. You keep trotting out the stats.
Second only to the Lisbon Lions. So there you go. So there wasn't anything wrong with Brendan Rodgers' system. I understand. Well, the proof's there. The data is all there if you want to.
Whenever you mention the goals,
if you want to read it.
I want to listen always to you, Stephen, but whenever you trot out that stat about the goals, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with Lewis one evening before the show started, and I said that to him. I think maybe it was the 3 of us were going to be on, and he said something which sounds daft and a bit funny, but there's, I think, a lot of truth in it, which was, apart from all the goals, it's really boring. Which kind of, I totally understand. Yeah, look, it's boring for 20 minutes, then there's a goal. Then it's boring for a half an hour, and then there's another goal. Then it's boring for the last 20 minutes.
I don't remember, I'm not sure if I remember anybody during the Bayern Munich game in the Allianz Arena saying, "Oh my God, this is really boring. I don't want this anymore."
The exception's proving the rule terrible. There, Stephen. You're quoting the exception.
This season, though, and it's not been great to watch. And he's been dealt a bad hand over the summer transfer window. We know all that, but I'm just, if we'd gone in, like we had done for the Hearts game, etc., I'm not sure we would have won that game yesterday.
Yeah, I might take issue with that though, because I think we played okay against Hearts. I don't think we were that bad. The second half we were pretty disappointing, especially when they went in front. But if you take Dane Murray out of that game, I think we beat Hearts fairly handily. And if Nygren scores his guilty chance in the first half, I think we win that game. And let's bear in mind excuse me, my headphones just falling out. Let's also bear in mind that we did beat Falkirk by 4 goals earlier on in the season, and a Premier Sports Cup tie as well. So, I'm not. I understand that I'm taking a bit of flack about this sort of talk, and we'll see what happens. That's all I can say. I think we've got far too small a sample size to make those sort of calls that things are all great now and it was all Brendan's fault.
No,
I do think it's too. We may well have lost that game yesterday if Rodgers was manager, but then again we may well have lost it if it was 11 against 11. You just don't know. And it's all ifs, ands and buts. So we'll reconvene in a couple of weeks' time, and if we get a good result in Midtjylland and cut the gap at the top a little bit before by the time we get back from the international break, then maybe you can start to make those sort of calls then. But it's far too early.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to see your headphones falling out there, but looks like Finbar O'Branigan is hoping for your microphone to cut out because you're talking pish, Stephen.
Fish.
Your very
Yeah,
favourite
it's all
word.
about opinions, isn't it? Yeah.
Uh-huh. John Coyle even saying he wishes people would stop going on about Munich. We didn't win. Which
We
is,
didn't lose either. We drew in the Allianz Arena. You know, if we hadn't,
didn't
if we
go
hadn't,
through.
yeah, we didn't lose though. So
Okay, well, anyway, back to what we're looking at here. This is from our friends at the Proud Huddle. Only takes one manager to believe in you. Best day of my life, says Callum Osmond. So that's really the inspiring story, isn't it? You've got to say.
He was in tears at the end after the final whistle.
Oh, was he? Didn't see that. Well, here's a tweet from the fast-loving, sin-soaked heathen, who I'm sure you're all familiar with. Sounds like a person whose lifestyle is after our own hearts here at Celtic World. There's no doubt that the Green Brigade and boys bring energy, colour and spectacle to Celtic games, but today's League Cup semi-final showed that a tremendous atmosphere can be generated. Without them, it did sound like there was a good atmosphere from both sets of fans, and the way the game sort of ebbed and flowed at times. It's quite interesting to see that energy shift around the stadium, wasn't it, Innes?
Yeah, good to see. You know, we've spoke about it in previous shows about, you know, the atmosphere is generally only created by the Green Brigade, certainly at Celtic Park. So it was good to see that yesterday. I mean, the whole Celtic end was in unison in one voice. It was good.
Speaking of being in one voice, could we even double down on the music tonight? Because there's another tune that we like to play to mark these occasions when we beat them. You're probably the right age to be a Smiths fan, I would have thought, in this.
No, I never liked the Smiths. I've actually got into them as I matured in years, but I never liked them. Never liked them, you know, in the 80s.
Well, this isn't the Smiths. Actually, this is one of Morrissey's sort of most notable solo hits that paved the way for him in the States and places like that. And he likes to sing that every day is Scalp Huns Day. See some of the comments here. Oh, according to Michael the boy, I'm acting like a Sevconian. That music, can't have that. Just goes for the very simple, oh no. Well, as long as you're amusing yourself, that's what I was always told was the important thing in this. What do you make of that?
I love it, love it. A lot of good clips in that footage there too. Great.
Yeah, brilliant times. You know, every day is Scalp Huns Day. Our record against them is just fantastic. And of course, walking away is the Rangers way. Look at the amount of empty seats there, Stephen.
Yeah, and that was with about 10 minutes to go in the game. I realised they were 3-1 down, and down to 10 men. But I can't really believe that Celtic fans would exit the ground at that point, because even with 10 minutes to go, I'm thinking, if they get a goal, they could get right back into this. So one goal can become two really quickly. So for all this talk about they created this great atmosphere, they all just buggered off when the going got a bit tough.
I was like, you're teeing up a Billy Ocean song there for my next great work.
Yeah,
That's
thankfully
terrible.
no.
That's terrible when the going gets tough, isn't it? That Billy Ocean. What a crap song.
Terrible song. Yeah.
What did you listen to as a youth then, Innes?
Really, really broad. Everything bar the Smiths, to be honest. So, but I listen to the Smiths now, but no, I was really, really broad. Went through all the post-punk era, Susie and the Banshees, Damned, and then Gary Newman. Saw him last year in Liverpool. Actually, he was brilliant. And through the 80s, 90s, just Broadchurch, really.
Broadchurch. Stephen, call us. Who was the band around which your teenage years were built?
Yeah, I was massive on the Smiths. I love the Smiths. Also was big on Echo and the Bunnymen. The House Martins. I love the House Martins. So around about that sort of mid-80s era. I did the usual, Simple Minds U2 sort of thing when I was at the back end of high school.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm actually I'm going to see Oasis next Saturday night here in Sydney. I noticed a couple of the boys have been talking about the Melbourne gig. So I'm heading down to the Olympic Park in Sydney on Saturday night.
Oasis. Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil anyone's fun. For those who believe, I'm sure that's amazing. Bit like Queen. I once answered this thing online where they were saying, like, who's the most overrated band? And I said Queen. And then some guy was furious with me and says, I bet you can find thousands of people who disagree with you. And I said, yeah, that's what being overrated means. I don't think he liked it. Hall and Oates, says Monty, the same as Brendan. But he likes anything really, anything Hall and Oates. Oh dear. Ampang Boy says, I've ever told you a story about me standing in for one of the Smiths as a best man? No, but you simply must. Next time you're on. That's David, formerly of Kuala Lumpur. Michael the Boy's a bit old school. Zeppelin, Stones, 70s rock. Yeah, I've sort of thought about Zeppelin, what Zeppelin could have fit in. Every now when I'm listening to music, driving about in the car or something, I'm thinking what Celtic related lyrics could fit into this song. It's just ruined my enjoyment of music, I have to say. All right, well, look, we're talking a load of crap here. Let's get it on to the final conversation, which probably won't take very long, but the new manager search. Do we think we know anything? Are we just waiting to see what happens when the picture clarifies in us? Or do you have anyone you desperately want us to go after?
Well, no, I think Stephen's already called it. We saw that when Maloney come in for that strange position he took over. I think he was being lined up for it early on. And I still think that's the case, given that the board lacks ambition. And he might well do a good job. Time will tell, And if results, if they stay in the post, because we've got a lot of games coming up over the next month, and if they're still in post with Martin O'Neill, then I think it'll be hard to say otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of names out there. We've heard it all with Ange. We've heard the guy from Bodo Glimt, Nuts, and Club Bruges guy as well. And they're just noise. There's nothing factual. Or McKenna from Ipswich. I'm not so sure, but he's getting a lot of positive vibes in the press for that one. And ultimately, as we've seen before, it could come down to friends of Dermot-Desmond. So
I suspect Stephen is going to say that this is all just a charade. We're interviewing people left and right, but Desmond and Desmond, is hoping that things go well enough so that he can just slide in Maloney under the cloak of acceptability that is Martin O'Neill's current presence. Yeah,
that's
what you think is
100%. I told you that a few weeks ago, didn't I? I told you that was why Maloney's there, and Innes called it absolutely correctly. He's been brought in a made-up role at the club, one that he's patently overqualified for, in order to just be waiting there for the correct moment where either Rodgers jumps or gets pushed, which is now. So, if you cast your mind back to the last time Brendan left and they appointed Neil Lennon as an interim, I don't know if you can remember that period. There was a lot of talk about people like Rafa Benitez coming into the Celtic job, and that was the sort of names that were getting thrown around. But at the end of the day, they were just waiting on the right moment to drop Lennon into the job full time, and it's the same now. Now, all the guys who I've heard spoken about, like the Club Brugge manager, like Knutson from Bodo Glimt, like McKenna from Ipswich, these guys would only be a success at Celtic if there's a complete structural change in the football department, and that they are given what they want round about them and all the support. You know, failing that, if everything's as you were, then they're setting these guys up for failure. But I think, you know, the most important news I think we've heard over the last few days is the fact that we might be getting a new CEO, we might be getting a new chairman, and a couple of the non-executive directors could be on the way out. So that shows you that the club are worried about the fan protests, and it could mean that sort of structural change is in the pipeline. So let's hope so, because I don't think until we have some sort of visibility on that, I don't think there's any point in appointing one of the guys that's been quoted. And I do believe that, you know, if we get to the end of the international break and they haven't appointed anyone, then, you know, they're appointing Maloney and O'Neill by default. O'Neill will probably hang around till the end of the season, and then it'll be Maloney's.
Well, that ex-Leicester CEO, she was at the game on Wednesday night for the Falkirk game. So, I mean, there's no way she's just pitching up on a wet Wednesday night to go and watch Falkirk. So, we'll see what happens at the AGM on the 21st. But there has to be serious changes.
She ticks all the boxes, i.e. she's Irish. And that's really the only box. That's the only box that really needs to be ticked these days, isn't it, Gav?
Yeah, I'm holding out for a hope of a call once they see my amazing insight into the game on the show.
As long as it's not Robbie Keane, please God no.
It cannot be, surely. I mean, but well, wait and see.
Wait and see. Here's a quick message to round off the show.
Oh my goodness, this is a great channel and totally free. I simply must subscribe right now.
I think that's a bit of a racist AI there, isn't it? I mean, I just chose Indian and that's how it came out. So it's not my doing. All right, everyone, thank you very much. Thank you, Jerry, here saying I should play the music. Celtic Park, that's true. Get my guitar out, strum the 4 chords that I know. I think that'll go down well. What vegetables would be thrown at me? Or lighters and vapes and stuff bouncing off my head. Yes, all right. Let's call it there, lads. It's been a good show, very enjoyable. I hope you got through the music there, Innes, without any permanent damage.
No, I loved it, Gav. Love it.
Good man. You're saying all the right things. People in the chat, on the other hand, can be quite brutal. It's a good job I'm not easily upset. Otherwise, I would never show my face again. All right, so hail. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Pam. It's good to see you. And everyone else who's wishing us farewell. We will be back, of course, on the next show to pick up. And the way things are moving, I mean, goodness knows what news will have come through by then. But yeah, exciting times, fun times. Feel like we're back, as the thumbnail said. and it's exciting. Looking forward to the games now and talking about them. So it was my pleasure to do so with you, Stephen, and with you, Innes. Thank you very much.
Good to chat.
Thanks,
Always.
Until
Gav.
next time. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail. Hail, hail.